Welcome to another episode of Black Men's Digest TV. I'm your host, J. Anthony Smith, and today's topic we're going to discuss finding your passion. So today's guest, we have Brandon Willis, who's an up-and-coming fashion designer in California. We're going to talk to him about how he discovered his passion and what he's done to foster that love into where he is today. So thanks for joining us today, Brandon. How's it going?
Man, thank you, James. Thanks for having me, man. I'm having a great day, man. Having a great year, great week, everything, man. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. So let's get right into it. So kind of give us a little background of what you're doing, kind of your background, and then where you are today.
Okay, well, I'm a clothing designer. I've been designing pretty much all my life. When I was a kid, where all my friends would play sports or, they would do other things. My mom was really into academics, so she wouldn't let me do some of the, like the boy things that boys would do. She wouldn't even let me go camping. She was just really afraid of, she was a single parent mom. So basically she, when I was young, man, she made an effort to make sure that I had the best of everything. She didn't let me go into sports and stuff like that. So to me, my talent was the way that I dressed. That's how I would express myself. So me wearing the nice clothes, people would call me Nike, Jordan. I used to get the Jordan sign etched in my head. I would get a part with the Nike sign, and so I realized at a young age, man, I'm not good at basketball. I'm always the last kid getting picked, but I do know how to dress pretty well. So basically, I would start sketching things, and I had this top secret folder. My friends would always laugh at me, "You in this top secret folder?" I mean, that folder basically tore itself apart. But I always remember that I was like, I'm going to have a clothing line one day. So it started in high school. I wanted to make a shirt. My mom was like, "Hey, you're going to waste money." And I'm like, "Mom, I have a job. I can pretty much pay for the development or whatever." So I started to make a shirt. I made my first shirt. Everyone loved it. But then I bought a sewing machine. And then from there, when I went to Howard University for my electives, instead of taking, like sociology or something like that, I took fashion design classes. So I had up to design 3 as far as sewing is concerned. And I've just been designing for a long time. I've probably had 3 different lines. This is like my 3rd one. It's called Public Treasury. I'm really excited about the launch of it. And the 3rd time is the charm. I made a lot of mistakes. And so this time around, I'm eliminating all those mistakes. I'm running a lot more lean, more organized. Everything is calculated. And so that's kind of like my background, just always being that guy who just wanted to be the fresh, fly guy. That was my claim to fame. So how else can you get fly but make your own clothes? I don't want to dress like anyone else. I don't want anyone to have this shirt on. I don't want anyone to have these pants on. So I got so OCD when it comes to the way I dress that it just spawned into a clothing designer type thing, and that's pretty much where I've been.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So when you were basically putting everything together, who did you look up to, or did you look up to anyone in the fashion industry to get ideas or tips or anything like that?
Yeah, I definitely did. As growing up, I was a big Polo fan, still am to this day, Ralph Lauren. I was really inspired by the way that he remained relevant. He didn't really take too many risks, but he made quality garments that you can wear, and they last for a long time. So I just told myself, when I design my clothes, I want people to wear it for seasons on end. It's not going to be a trend. It's not going to be a fad. But yeah, Ralph Lauren, I gotta give props to definitely like Sean John, Puff Daddy, just for paving the way and just making me feel like, hey, someone else of color can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Also gotta give it up to the Fat Farms, Russell Simmons, Miyoshi, Rockaware, pretty much any black designer, Mecca. I was just really into, streetwear back in the day, and those are some of the people that inspired me. But my biggest inspiration, I would say, is definitely Ralph Lauren, though. I would say.
Gotcha. Yeah, those are some of my favorite ones too. So yeah, I can definitely see that going. So as you kind of alluded to your transition into seeing that there weren't a lot of African Americans that were designers. Did you face any pushback or negativity as you were trying to get into this area?
Well, you know what? Where I go and get all my clothes made, because originally I would sew everything, and now I contract things out because I'm just not that great of a sewer compared to someone that's been sewing 40 years. But the thing is, when I go down there, I'm like literally one of the only black people in the industry. So there's automatically a language barrier. So when I come in, I'm automatically the youngest person there. Not to mention I'm a black person there. So a lot of times it's like, who are you and what are you doing here? And because I don't have the hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop a clothing line at a time, I'm doing it the spoon-fed way. I'm chipping away one rock at a time. And so they don't like that. They like big businesses. So a lot of times people will say I'm hard to work with. They don't want to work with me. I mean, I've had it all, and it's just like I'm just being myself, and I'm just trying to get my clothing line out. But because I'm not making 1,000 pieces at once, it's not in their best interest to work with me. Then they automatically associate it with you're black, you don't have money, and so I know I don't want to just throw it out there, but I know that being black, I've dealt with a lot of adversities just as far as people not wanting to work with me because they're like, no one else in here looks like you, so you can't do it. And so that really just motivates me. So when I go down there, one lesson that I really would say is that I learned is just to work with people that work with you, that like to work with you, and I go off vibes and energy. So not every sewer that I've met, not every pattern maker, not every cutter is the right fit. But I go with the people that make me feel like, I'm loved or that I'm actually a person and they believe in me. Because if not, they're not going to cut your stuff right. They're not going to sew it right. They don't care about you. So it took me a while to find a balance of people that were comfortable with a young black male aspiring to be a clothing designer, And I think a lot of that came with the designs that I was making. People were really amazed, like, you made that? Man, some of their kids would say, like with my backpack, my cutter, his son really like, man, you made that? This is nice, man. The stuff is coming along really well. So they see that I'm designing on a similar level to some of the bigger power players that come through there, So they're like, I see that you have it, and eventually you're gonna get there. So, like basically people that believe in me, that's who I like to work with. So, and that's my team that I've been working with for a while. It's probably about 4 or 5 of us, and they don't necessarily work for me. We work together. So.
Well, man, that's definitely an interesting insight. So when you talk about building a team, and this goes out to any brother out there that is looking to venture out into his own dream or passion, what do you look for as far as people that make up your team? What type of skills are you looking for, or is it like you said, that feeling of people who are genuinely in love with the idea?
Well, there's a few things that I look into. I look into, like you said, the person, how well we mesh together, how professional they are. Because in the fashion industry, it's all about your word, and it's about, you have deadlines and you have goals. So a lot of times they'll say, hey, I'll have your stuff done on Friday, or I'll have everything cut by Friday. Because I'm a small guy, they like to push me back. So I like people that are men or women of their word. If they say they're going to do something, they do it in a timely manner, because 1 week can push you back and mess up your whole plan, especially if you're a real detailed and organized individual. So just people who are professional, people who are skilled. And another thing that I like to have when it comes to my team is people who are connected. We may not be connected in the same way, but, you're not from my same you're not cut from the same cloth as me. You didn't grow up. You don't have the same background as me. We don't have the same professional resources. So if I'm going to work with you, I'm going to extend to you my resources, and then you do the same. So a lot of times when I work with new people, I love working with new people. It's good when you find that good team of people that you work with and they got it all right. But when you work with new people, you learn new things. You find new fabric shops where they sell fabric. You find new places to get trim, where you get your zippers at, where you get your drawstrings, everything. You know, when you work with new people, you gain all of their information as well. So I like to work with new people, but then I keep my solid group together as well. So.
Right.
Ooh, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. So then I kind of go into my next thing is that as far as planning, I know important in life is to have a plan. So when you before you first ventured out, did you write down a business plan or write down some type of roadmap that you wanted to follow?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have 2-3 different business plans, and so I definitely written out a business plan. And what's more important to me than a business plan is to have an actual schedule written down. Plan out the whole year, plan out what the next couple of months are going to look like, so that you don't find yourself behind. Because if you don't plan, then you basically plan to fail. Mm-hmm. And so for me, especially in the garment industry, a lot of times people will push you back. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't hold them to those deadlines, you may miss a showcase, or you may miss a fashion show, or you may miss an opportunity to meet with the buyer because this season is right now they're looking at fall, winter. You know what I mean? And if you don't have all your stuff ready during the buyer season, then they're going on to spring, summer. They're not worried about you. So. Yeah, man, just staying on top of the deadlines, that's very important.
Gotcha. So what would you say has been one of the biggest misconceptions about the fashion industry that people don't know, or people, like I said, just have a misconception? They think it's one way, but it's really another way.
I know that, like, for example, with my mom, she thought, hey, you want to do fashion? She thought that I was going to be, like, homosexual. And, I don't have any problem with anyone's sexual preference or whatever, but, I'm not homosexual. And so I think a lot of times people think that if you're in the fashion industry or if you design, that you're soft or you're sweet. But I've met a lot of cool gentlemen that actually are heterosexual, in the industry. So I really rarely see, homosexual men, at least in the space that I operate in. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure they're out there. But I think that that's a big misconception. Another misconception is that it's real easy, man. Mm. It's not easy. Everyone thinks that they can make one piece, get a T-shirt with a cool slogan on it, and that's a good start. I'm not trying to discourage anyone, but the thing is longevity in this game, because you'll spend all your creative energy creating one line. It may be a success, but then what about next season? You have to keep that up. So a lot of times people, you may like to dress or you might like to buy nice clothes, but when it comes to designing, you have to pay attention to the industry trends. Are people using buttons? Are they using zippers? How long is the arm? The cuff on your sleeve, is it long? How the collar, is it a long collar? Is there a button on the collar? All these little things are minor details that you have to look into when you're designing clothes. And I think people don't really pay attention to that. They just think, hey, I want to just, they have a couple bright ideas, but it takes more than a couple bright ideas, man, And I think that that's a misconception. You can just jump into it. Mm-hmm. And do it. I'm 10 years in, and I'm still getting ready to launch my first official clothing line, because I've tried, I failed, and it's not easy, man. It takes a lot of money. So if you don't really believe enough to spend your own money, your own hard-earned money, and I'm talking about half your income, right. More than half your income sometimes, then you don't really believe in it. It's not for you, because this industry will eat you up and spit you out. You'll have some designs I've had a time when I ordered 200 shirts. Some of those shirts I'm still sitting on to this day. And, you can get discouraged. That was $5,000 out of my pocket, but at the end of the day, you have to have enough energy to keep going. It's not always a guarantee, it's like almost a record industry, everyone can be a good rapper, but did Macy's or Nordstrom pick you up, or, do you have distribution? There's a lot of things that go into it that people don't really think about. And it's cool when your friends all have the same t-shirt, but what's the next design? What's the next piece you're going to come up with? And you can't do it all by yourself, man. Another thing that I would say is I'm very creative, but I like to run my ideas by people. Like, hey, what do you think about this? A lot of misconceptions is that people think they can do it all by themselves, and you can't do it all by yourself. So even if you are doing it all by yourself, realistically, you need people to do certain elements in order to make your business succeed. So don't be afraid to work with other people and reach out. That's been my theme for this collection, is just, reaching out to other people and getting their input and giving them an opportunity to design, because as more people get involved with you and what you have going on, the more people will promote the project. So it's easy for me to stand on my soapbox to my 1,300 followers on Instagram and say, hey, Public Treasury, the new line. But when I involve other people, then they feel inclined to promote and want to get involved and use their social media and their word of mouth to get the word out on the project. They'll be just as enthused as you are,
Right. And I want to go back to something that you said earlier as well, is that when you realized that in your life you weren't either interested or wasn't really fit for certain areas, like you said, you couldn't play basketball or things like that, but you found something that you did love and that you really did enjoy, and it came easy to you, you then turned that into a business. And that's what we want to tell brothers out there now, is that you may not be 6'9" with a 70-inch vertical and things like that, but you do have a talent that is inside of you, and it's a matter of you finding out what that talent is and then taking that to the next level. Like I said, with you, Brandon, like you said, you found something that you really enjoyed, and even though people didn't foresee you going in that avenue, there were misconceptions about where you felt your life led, you still didn't let that stop you. And like I said, 10 years in, you're still going strong, and you're still at that, about to blow up stage, but you didn't let that stop you. So how does it feel to look back, 10 years ago to see where you are now? How does that make you feel?
You know what? If I were 10 years ago, if I were to tell myself, I would be disappointed in myself right now, to be honest with you, because I would have expected things to have taken off a lot faster. My generation, we fall victim to the we want it now. We see the rappers on TV. We see Dr. Dre sell for $1 billion. You're like, man, I want to get some money. Everybody's getting money. They throwing money. They going to the club, spending money. They buying new clothes, new shoes, Jordans. And honestly, I just feel like people need to just take a step back and just really get their life together. A lot of times people they want to rush to the finish line, and so I think the younger me would have been like, man, what? You're not rich. We don't have a mansion yet. But the older me is proud of myself because I never gave up. There's been times that I've been discouraged, and I'm like, man, I spent so much money, people not buying. My homies not buying. They going to H&M. They ain't trying to spend $90 on a shirt with me, and I had it all wrong. Instead of trying to make money, I should have at least just tried to recoup some of the money that I spent. Then that would have promoted me, and Lisa talked about non-monetary currency. That would have been my non-monetary currency. So to be honest with you, looking at myself now, I'm really proud of where I've come, and the fact that I've never given up. The way this new collection is looking, it's like, man, it can hang with anybody right now. It can hang with the best of the best. I'm not gonna mention no names because I feel like I can be the best of the best, but it can hang up there, and I amaze myself every day, man. Just like, man, you really did that.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes because I design so much, I don't appreciate the benchmarks that I hit. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes my friends will come back and say, man, you're not the average person, man. The average person couldn't do that. Mm-hmm. And so, no, did I strike it rich yet? No, but I have a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge now to where I feel like it's priceless. You can't pay for that. Mm-hmm. And so now the light bulb is off. I'm ready to go, and you're gonna see some great things coming. I'm telling you. Y'all, just look out for real, man. And I appreciate you for this whole interview too, man. It really touched my heart, and I really sometimes need to just vent and express. I want to be a role model and a good example for people that want to start a clothing line. Let them know some of the things that I'm dealing with, man, because it's tough. You want to give up. Like, I spent close to $30,000 of my own money. The average person don't want to take that ride. Mm-hmm. They're like, what? 30,000 and you still are not a millionaire yet? Mm-hmm. But I look back and I'm like, man, but I have all these tools. I have the trim. I have the zippers in the stash, Mm-hmm. So now when it's time to design things, I already have that. I don't have to repay for a lot of those things. So yeah, it was $30,000, but I've set myself up. I have some of the tools and the blueprint to make lines moving forward, And so, people, you gotta realize, man, you gotta pay for your dream, man. If you don't really believe in it, then you're not gonna spend the money. It takes money to make money,
Exactly. And that's a good thing you said. You said, if you don't put the effort into it, then you really don't want it. Because, like you said, there's no such thing as an overnight success. People have been grinding, and brothers have been out there doing it, putting in the work. For example, Kevin Hart. People think, oh, he just came out of nowhere. But if you ask him, he's been doing it industry for like 10 or 11 years, and now he's not reaping the benefits of his hard work. So that's why I congratulate you, because like you said, 10 years, you've been putting out there consistently, and then your time is coming. I mean, I saw the backpack. I know the line. So it's like, it's definitely going to be a game changer when you put it out there. And then you'll be able to look, back at yourself a year or 2 years from now, and, like you said, be an inspiration to other people, other men who are out there that think, well, I'm just going to put this T-shirt out there and that's going to be it. I'm going to be a millionaire overnight with this one T-shirt. But like you said, it takes looking at the long term, looking at your goals, writing them down, making some mistakes, but not letting those mistakes keep you down. Just learning from those. You said there was a $30,000 investment that you made in your future by preparing yourself for the next level and the next wave that's coming in, that you'll be on there. And like you said, you won't be left behind.
And I just want to say too, with the 30,000, when I say that, I'm not saying in one lump sum, because I've never had $30,000 in my account at one time, to be honest with you. I'm sure a lot of you probably have, but what I'm saying is over time, if I look at and tally up all my receipts, I would have spent over 30,000, probably more,
Right.
So what I'm saying is just don't be afraid to invest in your dream. Don't get discouraged by that number. But if in 10 years I've spent $30,000, that's not that much money to invest in your dreams. Don't be afraid to take the risk. And that's what I think with a lot of small businesses and people that want to be entrepreneurs. They're afraid to take the risk, man. But even in life is a gamble. If you don't roll the dice, then how are you going to know if you don't succeed? And then there's not a lot of people playing in that game. A lot of people are afraid to take that risk. So you have a higher chance of succeeding if you do take that risk, especially right now. The economy is being rebuilt, and this is time for entrepreneurship. I think people need to step off that limb and really, I think everyone is supposed to, like you said, God has given everyone a God-given ability to do something great. You just got to find what your talent is. But I think every family should have that business, the family business, like you think about people like my friend, his last name is Baker, and so that would indicate that his family, his ancestors were probably bakers once upon a time. I feel like now everyone's lost in this whole world of we need to work for somebody, you need to make a certain paycheck, and basically they have you on a leash.
Right.
You're out here working for someone else. Now you do need to work for someone else in order to save your bread. That's where the 30,000 comes from. But at the end of the day, the goal should be to be working for yourself. Why would you spend all that time, energy making someone else rich and you miserable going to work? 99.9% of the people that I talk to hate their job, no matter what they do. I have a line brother, he work at Google. I'm hearing he ready to walk. I'm like, people would love to work at Google. Are you ready to walk?
Right.
Because you're not going to be happy until you're working for yourself. Until you're not going to get it. You're not going to even get work. You're not going to even understand working hard to the best of your abilities until you see that money come into your account. You're like, okay, this is what happens when I work. Because you're capped off on every week, baby, every 2 weeks. Right. You capped off. You have a salary, But when you work for yourself, the possibilities are endless. And once you see that, you'll see the work directly translates to the profits. And if you don't work, you don't have profit, And so, I don't know, I'm really long-winded sometimes about entrepreneurship. I'm team entrepreneurship, but,
Hey, I'm right with you. I support you 100%. I feel the same way, It's like you said, talking about just going to a regular job. And for some people, that's okay. They're happy with going to a job. But deep down inside, if you know that there's more to life than getting up, going 9 to 5, coming back home, and you got to request vacation time from somebody else, and you got to request and see if you can take off to take care of your kids. If you're an entrepreneur, you're in control. Yeah, it's going to be a little harder. It's going to be a lot more sacrifice. But at the end of the day, you control your own time.
Well, you have to give up something in order to gain something. So there has to be some type of sacrifice. And so for a lot of times, growing up, I was really into my clothes. I'd be buying shoes, Jordans, watches. But I had to take a step back and say, let me spend that money on the development of my line, And so you got to make a choice, man. Sacrifice.
That's
something to succeed.
That's it. Well, that's been our talk for today. I want to thank again Brandon for his time, his insight, and again to brothers as a closing message, find your passion. Find what it is that you would love to do. If you didn't get paid for it, what would you love to do? And then, basically take that to another level. Learn more about it. Invest your time in it. Take yourself out of that rat race. And so that when you look back on your life, you will have accomplished something that you feel great about. So again, thank you again, Brandon. So how can people reach out to you or follow you on social media?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. It is Public Willis, and that's Public Willis. You can also check out my website. It is down right now until the new line launches in about a month and a half, but it's publictreasuryla.com. You can find me on Facebook, Brandon Willis. You can email me, brandontwillis@gmail.com. If you want to start a clothing line or you want to make bags or anything, just give me a call. And actually a consultant as well wouldn't mind helping you out. And that's about it, man.
Awesome.
Just give me an email or hit me on Instagram. That's the best way to find me.
Great. And again, when you're ready to launch the line, we'll definitely be one of the first. It'll be definitely coming at you for an interview, for the interview party and all that, ready to get everything launched off for you.
Man, yeah, you got it. You guys got the first interview. I'm telling you, it's going to be big, man. It's going to be big. I'm really excited about everything. I haven't been more excited about anything in my life, to be honest. But
cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you guys know, and thank you guys for supporting me. I appreciate all the love. James, you the man.
Man, we appreciate you. Congratulations. So again, thanks so much for watching this episode of Black Men's Digest TV. We'll be back next week with another powerful episode and insight into information that can help you go past the ordinary and into the extraordinary. This is J. Anthony Smith. See you next week.